Welcome to the Biz Kidz Podcast. I'm JD Ravalli, your my host, and today we are going to be talking products and coming up with ideas. Our guest today is Randall Thompson, and Randall came up with an idea that I don't want to kind of break the news for you yet, so I'm going to let him tell you about the idea. But he came up with his own product. He sells millions of dollars of this product, and has just done a great job on marketing it, letting people know what he does. And it's very creative. So, Randall, why don't you tell us in your 60-second pitch who you are and what you do?
Yeah, thanks, JD. Yes, I'm not the best at speaking about myself, but I'm going to give it my best shot here to give you the 60-second pitch. And so, as of recently, I sold my business, but I started a business in which we took barrels of baseball bats. So if you think of just a baseball bat and like the end of it, we would chop it off and we would hollow it out and we would turn it into a drinking mug. And so from there, we continued to dissect the bat a little bit more. We would take the handle and turn it into a bottle opener or a shot glass. We started doing the same barrel concept with metal baseball bats and turned them into tumblers. And so we kind of just came up with this one hero core product and kind of just spun off of that product and got licensing with Major League Baseball, Minor League Baseball, and got distribution into places like Dick's Sporting Goods and Major League Baseball stadiums. But a majority of what we did was sell direct to consumer, where we put a Facebook ad in front of a baseball fan, and they would buy one of these things and drink from it during game day or gift it during Christmas or Hanukkah or Father's Day or something along those lines. So,
and the name of the company?
The name of the company is Dugout Mugs.
And I looked at your bio. It looks like you were a professional ball player. So you had a bat in your hand all the time?
Well, I was trying to get people out that had bats in their hands. I was a pitcher, yeah. So,
nice.
yeah.
And you do some coaching now as well on pitching?
No, I haven't coached. Oh man, I probably haven't coached in 10 years or so. I've got more time on my hand than I have a son now, but I still have more time than ever before, and I've considered getting back into coaching in some capacity.
Awesome. Well, let's kind of go back in time a little bit. When you were a kid, were you thinking of business ideas then? Were you looking at, did you have a side hustle that you were making money, mowing lawns, shoveling snow?
Well, yes, I was never short on ideas. My dad will make jokes that my dad and my mom will make jokes that every day, every other day, I would say, I thought of this thing, or I thought maybe we could do this, or maybe we could do that. So I was definitely, and then in college and high school, I was always the idea guy. I always had concepts for businesses and products. But as far as pursuing the ideas or products, no, I was pretty focused on baseball, and that was my passion. And then once that ended, I dove into creating products and selling them.
And when did you come up with the idea of this mug? Was it when you were out on the field one day, just kind of waiting through the innings to kind of figure it out, or did it come to you after you had already kind of got out of the baseball game?
I was playing baseball, got released. I was in the Toronto Blue Jays organization. I went back and I coached college baseball where I went to college. And the guy that was my recruiting coordinator and now my colleague, he was cutting baseball bats in half, wooden baseball bats in half, and there was a bunch of loose baseball bat barrels that were lying around in the dugout, and that's partially where the name came from, Dugout Mugs. And I picked up a loose baseball bat barrel and I looked at it. There's a natural cupping to most baseball bats, and I asked myself, I wonder if there was just a continuation of that cupping. Could you turn it into a cool drinking mug? And that was in 2014 when I had that idea, that light bulb moment, and then started pursuing it in 2015, sold my first one in 2016.
So I was reading kind of some of your story on that, and it sounds like you were living at your sister's house and you were kind of just grabbed some tools from Lowe's and headed out. Kind of give us that story, because a lot of our kids that are starting, they don't have a manufacturing facility. They don't have the CAD program to kind of figure out how do we engineer this. It's a lot of times it's just hit and miss on like, okay, let's try it. I'll make a prototype and see if it works. How did that work for you?
Yeah, I think I think it's just a good lesson to come from this is simplicity scales. Just you want to at all times you just want to think about how can I make this as simple as possible. So in the process of creating the first dugout mug, I had people that said you need a base on it, you need a handle on it, and I just thought there was something that was cool and authentic about just drinking directly from a barrel of a baseball bat with no modifications. And then later I would realize that it was actually a blessing that I resisted those suggestions because of just how simple it was to manufacture the product. And even though it seems simple, it's still complicated. So even the most simplest things are difficult in manufacturing. So yeah, in the beginning, I bought craft baseball bats. So just baseball bats that are not suitable to use within baseball games. And I bought a chop saw from Lowe's, and I was cutting baseball bats in half in my sister's backyard in a garage that was converted into a studio apartment. And I was cutting them right by my kitchen sink, and 350 square feet, and just trying to figure out how to get a hole in the top of it. And yeah, and I just a lot of questions along the way, and just getting better at asking questions and getting better answers, and ultimately getting better results with time.
Do you have that original prototype that you made the first time?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Nice. That's something great to hold on to remember that process that you went through. Mm-hmm. Now, I didn't ask you ahead of time. Do you have a sample of one of your mugs?
Yeah, I've got something here.
And there's some people that on the podcast are just listening, but if you're watching the video on YouTube or anything like that, you can kind of see what it's all about. So that's awesome.
So this one, it wrapped around it is the cast from the Sandlot, but then you can see that the center is hollowed out. So top half of a baseball bat, cut in half, hollowed out.
And how many prototypes did it take to get it to that level?
Oh man. So in the beginning, I was taking kind of like narrower baseball bat barrels, and they were long and skinny, and then like I started doing shorter ones, and then I kind of just continued to play around with the size until I got the sizing right. But I would say plus or minus 10 variations of that to try to figure out what the actual best look was.
And that's what we try to get across to the kids is, there are going to be your first time out. It's not going to be your first one. That's your prototype is not going to be the one that you're stuck with. You're trying to figure out the process, and you make failures along that process. And those are great failures because those are getting you to think through the process of how am I going to develop this and how am I going to get there. So, was there a point when doing this where you thought, okay, I'm going to give up. This is ridiculous. This is not going to work. Or did you see that the progression was actually a positive and you were going the other direction?
It's like both sides of it. One, I was in a point in my life where I wasn't enjoying what I was doing. So the idea of not continuing to pursue it was like, well, I felt like I had no choice because it didn't really feel like I had anything going for me. But as I was going, it was the hardest thing to try to figure out who can put a hole into something like this. And looking back, it's so clear that I just needed a wood turner. Somebody needed to say to me, "Hey, you need to just find a wood turner, and that person can do it." But I had an impossible time. So there was times that when that was going on, when I couldn't find anybody to put a hole in the barrel of a baseball bat, I was just like, I don't really know if I want to continue to pursue this. And then I got further along in the process, and then once you kind of get into the groove of things and you kind of create a new standard in your life, that there's going to be issues that come up, or there's going to be hard things that come up, and just figuring out and thinking through those issues, when you just make it your default headspace that it's not really an issue, it's just something I'm going to find a solution for. It just becomes habit, and the next thing you know, one foot gets in front of the other, and then you have a product and a business in front of you.
Awesome. And then, so you get the product kind of to the point where it's ready to sell. How did you go about in just first marketing that? I assume you didn't have the licensing agreements with the names of the companies on there and the other teams. So you just had this cup that you're trying to sell. How did you start that process?
Yeah, customization was like the first step to it. So if you wanted to put JD on the mug, or JD is the best dad, or whatever, something along those lines. Just being able to just customize with either like a company logo or somebody's just custom message. And the way that I initially started to market it was in 2016. So about a year prior, I started noticing like certain ads popping up based on my interests on Facebook, and I was like, oh, this is super intriguing. Whenever the Dugout Mug comes to life, I feel like this would be an opportunity to target people that love baseball and put this product in front of them and sell it to them through e-commerce. So that's the way that I initially started marketing it.
And just online sales then. Weren't how did you get into your first retail store?
So yeah, I would say probably the first like $5 million or so of sales were through e-commerce. And then when we had the introduction of a license by Major League Baseball Players Association, so it's different than Major League Baseball properties. MLBPA is just pretty much like NIL deals with Major League Baseball players, using their name, image, and likeness. Once we introduced that license to Dugout Mugs, that's when we started selling into retail stores. And typically, you need a Major League Baseball license to sell into MLB stores, but there was just something so unique about the Dugout Mug, and it paired together with this MLBPA license that we got distribution into MLB stores with that license.
Now you make it sound so easy that you got this license, this major organization. How did it help the fact that you were a professional ball player to get into the organization to be able to talk about that license? Or did you have to hire a lawyer to say, hey, find the people we need to talk to about getting this license agreement together?
Well, I think one of like the most important things that I've learned as developing my first products and my first business is that when your products are the USP, like when they're the unique selling proposition, when you're competing against nobody, it makes licensing conversations a lot easier. We went to our first trade show in 2017, and it was about a year and a half of being in business. And it was actually my first time ever being to a trade show, and it was the MLB winter meetings, and a bunch of hard goods products were there. And I walked the trade show floor, and I kind of looked at everything, and I was like, what is all this? Nothing is unique here. Everybody has a variation of a keychain or a coaster or a T-shirt or a hat, or there was nothing unique. And what ended up happening is we bought this 10 by 10 booth, and it was kind of like the coming out party for Dugout Mugs, and which anybody and everybody within baseball, and specifically Major League Baseball, is at this trade show. And we just constantly just had a flow of people into our booth, even to the point where the booths like adjacent to us just had people flowing out of our 10 by 10 booth, and the guy came over and he said, hey, I met my quota for people in my booth because of everybody flowing out of yours. and
That's
so
awesome.
That sparked up the conversation of licensing, and it just makes it easier when you have a unique product that people want, and you don't have to fight to the bottom of pricing or cost of goods, and you kind of just have a unique product that people want to put marks on and you can resell. It makes the conversation easier for licensing.
So back to manufacturing. So after you kind of got you figured out the system of how to make these, were you making them in the beginning to yourself one by one, or did you automatically go to like a manufacturing facility where they were the ones actually producing them?
Yeah. So in the very beginning, the first order that I ever made was from a manufacturer in the Northeast, and it was for 100 mugs. Then I moved to another manufacturer and ordered 500 mugs, and I ordered 1,000 mugs. I've always, there's kind of three major parts to the operation. The major wood turning part has always been done by a manufacturer somewhere in the Northeast. And then the other two major parts have been in Florida. But yeah, since the beginning, I've worked with wood turners. Did not actually physically make these myself.
Okay. Okay. There's a lot of times, when you're trying to get those prototypes and you're making the first couple hundred yourself, it can take up a lot of your space in the house. But yeah. And so as you got bigger, now your manufacturing, did it have to go to different manufacturers each time that the orders got bigger? Could they not handle like that? Or was it a pricing that you're trying to figure out who's going to give me the best price on and turning these out?
No, it actually worked itself out pretty well, in which we ended up finding a manufacturer that just had buy-in into what we were doing. As we were scaling up, we had a guy that was working on this that had years of industry experience, and he was just ahead of where we were heading. And he said, "Hey, this is going to be your bottleneck. We have the room for it. We don't have the equipment for it." We bought the equipment to be able to kind of forecast where we were going, to be able to keep up with the demand. And then they just charged us a price per unit to offset those costs. So like to make this simple, we needed a machine that cost us $40,000. We got the machine for $40,000. Rather than just paying $40,000 for the machine and just being ahead of everything, each time that they shipped us a unit, they just charged us an extra dollar or two. So we got terms on the machine. It was good for our business. It was good for their business. Kind of forward looking. They had the space to be able to grow into it. They had the know-how. They had the manpower. And it just worked itself out that from the time that I was ordering, let's say 1,000 a month, to eventually we got to 10,000 a week. It was just they were able to grow with us, and they were willing to grow with us, and they were great partners, and just lucked out there.
And in the beginning, how much were you charging for one of your mugs? What was the price?
I think $39.99.
And on that first trade show that you did, how many orders did you guys take from that first show?
Oh man, well, that was 8 years ago now. I don't remember. I remember.
Was it exciting enough that when you left that show, you're like, "This is it. This is taking off."
Strangely enough, me and a whole team of people grew it to nearly $15 million a year, and even in those moments, I'm like, we still haven't made it.
15 million a year.
Yeah, there was.
Wow.
Yeah, there was kind of a sickness inside of me that I never really not that it wasn't enough, but I always thought it was going away. And it was good to keep me motivated, but it was also exhausting. So I'm still waiting for that moment where I go, okay, yeah, this is it. We've made it.
And that's entrepreneurship. If you have that entrepreneurship gene, there's something about it. Like you hit one of the obstacles or made it over an obstacle, but you're always like going for another one or trying to like push yourself to even do better. And so I think that's just kind of part of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and I think the next thing that I build, I think I'm going to try to just get rid of that gene. I'm gonna kind of just model things out, forecast things out. I'm gonna say this is the level I want to get it to, and if it's bringing in this, I'm good. I'm not gonna sweat trying to grow it just to grow it.
And did you patent the product?
Yeah, I think I have like 4 or 5 patents, and yeah.
So how long does the patent process take to like get that go through, submit it, and have them come back and say yes, this is something that's unique?
Roughly 2 years to issue.
Holy cow! Okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to apply for a while.
Yeah, you can apply, and then you can kind of use like it's pending as like a point of leverage with anybody that maybe kind of shows up on the scene and starts doing it. It doesn't have nearly as like sharp as teeth as actually having an issued patent. But it's and what I've realized is like patents are good for just like billable hours for attorneys to argue. It's like somebody's infringing, and you're like, hey, they're infringing, and they're like, yeah, but it's not so black and white. There's so much gray here, and it's like, however many thousands of dollars later on attorney fees, and then you finally come to a settlement. So it's not a perfect system, but there is ways. It is good to have a patent when you're doing something unique. It does create a moat, and it does create value for your business for sure.
So have you had copycats? So people that have tried to do the same thing, and did you have to send the lawyers after them? I assume.
Yeah. It was a constant battle.
and that's what we try to tell the kids too. There's always going to be copycats, no matter what kind of business you're doing. There's some things you just cannot patent. Like you said, at that trade show, everybody else is doing the same keychains. They're doing the same T-shirts. They're making it a little bit different. They're putting the logo on the back instead of the front. Whatever it may be. But you have to just realize you just keep on pushing forward, and you have your idea, make it unique, make it different, and stand out, and promote your product as being that unique difference.
It's great advice.
So you sold the business now, and what's the next venture for Randall? Are you off or can you say?
I am nothing solidified. I've got some things floating around in my mind, and I kind of swore off business after I sold the last one. And then I'm not so sure that's going to be the case. I'm getting the itch again, and kind of recalibrated, and just feeling more like myself now. And I'm eager for the next thing. I'm not 100% sure what it is though.
And so what advice would you give kids that have a product idea, that are kind of just venturing into this and starting off? What would you tell them about getting started?
Yeah, just start. I think that I think a lot of people that haven't done it before expect that people are going to just have the answers for them, and the only way that you're going to get the answers is if you go through the motions. So my advice would be to stop taking advice, especially if you're just beginning. Just start asking yourself questions, and turning I don't knows into I gotta knows. And the more of those you can string together and actually get the answers to things, the closer you will be to being in business. So seek less advice and just get to work. That would be my advice.
When we first started this organization, we had a young man that was making his own cookies. He actually created a sugar-free cookie so his dad that's diabetic could enjoy the cookies with. And he was blowing up, and he was just killing it with his. And then he got into baseball, and he was always too busy playing games and going to practice that he hasn't been back to an event. So someday that hopefully he'll come back. But he chose baseball over his cookie business. But he was making good money there at the beginning. So
nice.
And we see all kinds of different business ideas. We have kids that make dog leashes to dog products, dog cookies, candles, bracelets, you name it. We've seen all different types of things. And what we just want to do is help kids kind of walk through that process of how to do this and not get discouraged when things don't work out the first time, to kind of figure it all out. So, well, we appreciate you being here on the Biz Kidz Podcast. If you want to get your kids involved in the Biz Kidz, we are nationwide. We have an online hub where kids can get training and mentorship. Follow us at bizkidsusa.org, and you can find out more information. Randall, thank you for coming out and telling us your story today, and we're looking forward to checking out Dugout Mugs and kind of seeing your products online. So, and let us know when you launch your next big thing. We'd love to kind of follow you and see what you're doing. So,
yeah,
thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you.